The city never forgets its ghosts. It just stops looking for them. New York, Monday morning, 7:45. The kind of cold that bites through expensive wool and cheap polyester alike. Steam rose from subway grates like the breath of something buried alive. Taxis honked their familiar symphony. Coffee carts pumped caffeine into the veins of Manhattan's relentless machine. And in the heart of it all, on the 85th floor of a building that touched the clouds, a woman was about to spill wine that would change everything. But first, Berlin. 6 months earlier, because every ghost has an origin story, the underground fight pit smelled of sweat, blood, and desperation. Concrete walls, fluorescent lights that buzzed like dying insects. 300 people packed into a space meant for half that number. Money changing hands faster than punches, and in the center, a regulation boxing ring with canvas stained the color of old rust. The crowd roared. In the red corner, Victor Dragos, 300 pounds of Ukrainian muscle and steroids. Heavyweight champion of the European underground circuit, undefeated in 47 fights. They called him the Breaker because he didn't just win, he destroyed. In the blue corner, a woman, 5'7", maybe 130 pounds soaking wet, wearing a silver mask that covered the top half of her face, two slits for eyes that reflected the lights like polished steel. Sports bra, fighting shorts, bare feet, no gloves, hands wrapped in black tape that had seen too many fights. They called her the Wraith. Nobody knew her real name. Nobody knew where she came from. She appeared 6 months ago, won 12 straight fights, and became the most dangerous mystery in Berlin's underworld. The bell rang. Dragos charged like a freight train with a vendetta. Most fighters would have backpedaled. The Wraith stood perfectly still. At the last possible second, she moved. Not away, sideways. A slip so minimal it seemed like she hadn't moved at all. Dragos's haymaker cut through empty air. His momentum carried him forward, off balance. The Wraith pivoted. Her right fist drove upward into his liver. Not wild, not desperate, surgical. The shovel hook executed with the precision of a surgeon and the intent of an executioner. Dragos's eyes bulged. His mouth opened in a soundless scream. The air left his lungs in one violent expulsion. He dropped to his knees, then to his face. The referee counted. The Breaker couldn't even lift his head. 10 seconds. One punch, career over. The crowd exploded, and in the back corner, watching through the smoke and chaos, a man in an expensive suit made a phone call. She refused, he said in Russian. She will not throw the next fight. The voice on the other end was cold, female, Eastern European accent sharp as broken glass. Then she becomes a problem. Tell my brother Victor in New York. The Wraith is his problem now. And tell her, a pause, breathing, the sound of old wounds remembered. Tell her Katya Volkov does not forget debts. She owes me for Sarajevo. When she runs to America, Victor will collect. The promoter's blood ran cold. The Volkov twins. Victor ran the Wolves in New York. Katya controlled Berlin. Both ex-Vimple, both lethal, both with long memories. Handle it, Katya repeated, or I handle you. The line went dead. The Wraith collected her earnings, ish, always cash. She pulled a hoodie over her mask, slipped through the crowd, and disappeared into the Berlin night. She had 48 hours before they found her. She used 47 to vanish. 1 hour was spent on a phone call to a woman named Mrs. Chen, an ocean away in Queens, New York. I need you to keep Maya safe, she said, her voice breaking. I'm coming home. I promise. A child's voice in the background. Mommy? The Wraith closed her eyes. Tears ran down her face, pooling at the edge of her silver mask. I love you, baby. Mommy will come back. I promise. The phone call to Mrs. Chen wasn't the only one she made that night. The second call was harder. She dialed a number she swore she'd never use again. A number from 5 years ago. Sarajevo, when everything went wrong. No answer. Just voicemail. A woman's voice. Russian accent. You've reached a number that doesn't exist. If you're calling, you're already dead. Beep, Stella's voice barely a whisper. Katya, it's me. I know you want me dead for Sarajevo. I know I left you in that warehouse. I know you were captured, tortured. I'm sorry I had to choose between you and the mission, between you and 30 innocent civilians. She paused, tears streaming. I chose the mission. I would choose it again. But I'm sorry you paid the price. Another pause. I'm going to New York. Your brother Victor runs there. I know you've probably already told him about me, about the bounty. If he comes for me, tell him to make it quick. But please, my daughter Maya, she's 7. She's innocent. Don't let her pay for my choices. She hung up. The message was never returned. But in Berlin, in a penthouse overlooking the Spree, Katya Volkov listened to it 17 times before calling her brother in New York. The Wraith is coming to you, she said. €5 million bounty. But Victor, the child is not part of this. You understand? Victor laughed. Since when do you care about children? Since Sarajevo taught me what it costs to be collateral damage. She hung up before he could reply. She hung up, removed the mask, looked at herself in a cracked bathroom mirror. Her name was Stella Hayes. She was 32 years old, and she had been running for 7 years. Before Berlin, before the Wraith, before the mask, she had been someone else entirely. Military intelligence, on Defense Intelligence Agency. She spent 5 years analyzing threat patterns in Eastern Europe, reading encrypted communications, tracking weapons networks. But analysis wasn't enough. She wanted to be in the field. So she cross-trained, hand-to-hand combat instructor at Fort Bragg, Krav Maga, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She could teach 100 different ways to disable an opponent, could execute each one with surgical precision. Benjamin used to joke that she was more dangerous than his entire Special Forces unit. He wasn't wrong. When he died 7 years ago, when the wolves murdered him and threatened Maya, Stella didn't just run. She transformed, used every skill the military gave her to become a ghost. First year, hiding across America, learning to disappear. Next 5 years, traveling, training, perfecting the craft of controlled violence. Last year, Berlin, the underground circuit, the silver mask. The Wraith was born from necessity, became legend by survival. Tonight she would run again. But this time she was running home. But eventually, every runner comes home. 6 months later, Manhattan. The Onyx Club occupied the penthouse of a building in Midtown that cost more per square foot than most people earned in a year. Members only. No signs, no advertising. If you had to ask where it was, you couldn't afford to be there. The interior was a study in controlled decadence. Black velvet booths, mahogany bar that stretched 40 feet, crystal chandeliers that cost more than luxury cars. The air smelled of Cuban tobacco, aged scotch, and money. And fear, always fear, the kind that vibrated beneath the surface of every conversation. This was the domain of Dominic Cross. He was 45 years old, 6'3", salt and pepper hair perfectly styled, eyes the color of cold espresso, a Brioni suit that cost $12,000 draped over shoulders that still showed the definition of a man who trained regularly. He wore a Patek Philippe watch, vintage, worth more than most people's houses. But it wasn't about the money. It was about the engraving on the back. To Daddy, love Sophie, his daughter, dead 10 years, 7 years old, drunk driver, a rival gang member who walked on a technicality. Dominic buried his grief in an empire. By day, he ran Sterling Security Incorporated, a legitimate private security consulting firm, contracts with Fortune 500 companies, offices in 12 countries, revenue in the hundreds of millions. By night, he ran something else entirely. The Onyx wasn't just a club, it was headquarters. It was where disputes were settled, where alliances were forged, where the real power of Ninshorsian underworld gathered. And 70 floors below, in a basement that officially didn't exist, there was a boxing ring. But Dominic Cross was trying to change. In 72 hours, he would sign a merger. Sterling Security would absorb Sterling Tower Development, creating a fully legitimate real estate and security conglomerate. Clean money, legal operations. An exit from the underworld that had consumed him for a decade, if he survived the next 3 days. He checked his watch. 7:47. The board meeting started in 13 minutes. A waitress approached his table. She was invisible, the kind of woman people looked through rather than at. Oversized uniform 2 sizes too big, thick black-rimmed glasses that hid her face, hair pulled back in a messy bun, head down, shoulders hunched. She carried a tray with coffee and wine. At the adjacent table, Vincent Zhao sat with 2 associates. Vincent was visiting from Chicago, part of the merger deal, a necessary evil. He was drunk, loud, reaching for the waitress. "Come here, sweetheart," Vincent slurred. "Let me see under those ugly glasses." He grabbed her wrist. Time slowed. The waitress's body shifted, just a millimeter, a micro-adjustment of stance. Her weight distributed perfectly between both feet. Her breathing rhythm didn't change. For a fraction of a second, Dominic saw something in her eyes, not fear, calculation. Then she stumbled, intentionally clumsy. The wine bottle tilted. Dark red liquid, thick as blood, arced through the air in perfect slow motion. It missed the glass entirely. It cascaded directly onto Dominic Cross's pristine white dress shirt and the lapel of his $12,000 suit jacket. The music stopped. Every conversation within 30 feet died instantly. Vincent released her wrist like it was burning. Dominic slowly set down his phone. He looked at the spreading crimson stain on his chest. Then he raised his eyes to meet hers. She looked back. No tears, no trembling, just those green eyes behind thick lenses, watching him with an unsettling steadiness. Most people shook when Dominic looked at them. She stood perfectly still. "Do you know what this suit costs?" His voice was barely a whisper, but it carried across the silent room. "I am so sorry, sir." Her voice trembled. Perfectly performed fear. "I will work it off, I promise." Dominic stood. He towered over her, 6'3" of controlled menace. "The suit cost $12,000, he said. "The wine you wasted was another $3,000. You make what? $15 an hour plus tips?" He stepped closer. "It would take you a year to pay for this dry cleaning bill." Behind him, Marcus Volkov materialized, 6'5", 270 pounds. Scars running down his neck like a roadmap of violence. Dominic's head of security for 20 years. "Want me to remove her, boss?" Marcus's Russian accent still thick after 30 years in America. Dominic held up one hand. He was studying her, the way she stood, the rhythm of her breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth, controlled, trained. "You have good balance," Whitty murmured, almost to himself. He tested her. A quick backhand slap, not hard enough to injure, just to humiliate, to knock those ridiculous glasses off her face. It happened in a fraction of a second. Her head slipped left, microscopic movement, a slip in boxing terms. His hand passed through the space where her face had been a millisecond before. Silence. Dominic's hand hovered in empty air. He looked at his own hand, then back at her. She immediately hunched her shoulders. I flinched. "I am sorry, sir." He wasn't buying it. 20 years in this life taught you to read people, to see through masks. That wasn't a flinch. That was training. "Clear the room," Dominic said quietly. Marcus frowned. "Boss?" "I said clear the room. Everyone out, now." The patrons scattered like roaches when the lights came on. Vincent Zhao stumbled toward the exit, too drunk to understand what was happening. When they were alone, Dominic unbuttoned his wine-stained jacket and tossed it onto a leather booth. He rolled up his sleeves, forearms corded with muscle, tattoos that told stories of violence and survival. "You owe me $15,000, he said. "And since you cannot pay with money, we are going to negotiate a different form of payment." The waitress took a step back. "Sir, I do not do that kind of thing." "Get your mind out of the gutter," Dominic smirked. "I do not want your body in my bed. I want to see what you are hiding under that apron." He pointed to a heavy iron door at the back of the VIP room. "Downstairs, the gym. 3 minutes in the ring with me. Bare knuckle. You survive without getting knocked out. I forget the debt. I will even give you a tip." Stella's heart hammered against her ribs. The gym, the ring, the one place she couldn't go. If she fought, she would reveal herself. If she revealed herself, Berlin would find her. If Berlin found her, Maya would die. "And if I refuse?" she asked quietly. Dominic pulled a silver lighter from his pocket, flicked it open and closed. Click, click, click. Then Vincent takes you to the alley and teaches you about respecting your betters. And trust me, Vincent doesn't know when to stop. She looked at the door, at Dominic, at the impossible choice. Slowly she untied her apron, folded it neatly, placed it on the table. She removed her glasses, folded them carefully, set them beside the apron. Without the frames, her eyes were striking, piercing green, sharp as cut glass. 3 minutes, she said. Her voice no longer trembled. It was flat, cold, composed. Dominic's smile widened, but deep in his gut, something he couldn't explain whispered a warning. 3 minutes, sweetheart, he said. Try not to die. The elevator descended. No buttons. Biometric scanner. Only 3 people had access. Dominic, Marcus, and now, apparently, this waitress. The doors opened onto a different world. Concrete floor, exposed brick walls, the smell of old sweat, iron, and bleach. Fluorescent lights that hummed. And in the center, a regulation-sized boxing ring. The canvas was stained with dark patches that no amount of scrubbing could remove. This was where Dominic settled disputes that couldn't be solved with words or money. He stepped through the ropes, bounced lightly on the balls of his feet. He was good, trained regularly. Not a professional, but a dangerous brawler. Strong, aggressive, used to winning through force and intimidation. Marcus stood by the timekeeper's bell, looking uncertain. Vincent Zhao had followed them down holding a tumbler of scotch, laughing. 500 says she cries in 30 seconds, Dominic. Make it 1,000, Dominic replied, not taking his eyes off the waitress. Stella stood outside the ropes. She had removed her uniform to reveal a gray tank top and black leggings underneath. Her arms were lean but defined, muscle with long, dense bellies. She kicked off her cheap work shoes. Barefoot, she stepped onto the canvas. The texture under her feet, the familiar give of the mat, a rush of adrenaline flooded her system. Old, familiar, intoxicating. It was a drug she had been clean from for 6 months. The Wraith was waking up. Control, she told herself. Do not knock him out. Just survive. Defend. Make it look like luck. Gloves? She asked, looking at the rack on the wall. Bare knuckle, Dominic said, raising his fists. I want to feel it when I hit you. Unless you are scared. He was trying to provoke her. Make her angry. Sloppy. Stella didn't respond. She walked to the center of the ring and raised her hands. But not in a traditional boxing stance. She kept her palms open facing him. A defensive posture that looked amateurish to the untrained eye. To someone who knew it was a Muay Thai guard, designed to catch and trap. Time, Marcus yelled, slapping the canvas. Dominic lunged. He didn't hold back. A straight right aimed directly at her jaw. A punch meant to end things immediately. Stella saw the telegraph in his shoulder, the way the muscle bunched a fraction of a second before his arm moved. Time seemed to slow. She could have slipped inside, shattered his ribs with an uppercut. She could have swept his leg and cracked his skull on the canvas. Instead, she did the bare minimum. She ducked frantically, making it look like panic. His fist sailed over her head. The wind of it rushed past her ear. Slippery, Dominic grunted. He turned and swung a heavy left hook. Stella stumbled backward, tripping over her own feet intentionally. She fell against the ropes. The hook missed her nose by an inch. Get up, Dominic barked. Stop running. Stella scrambled up, breathing hard, adding a quiver to her voice. I cannot do this. Please. 2 minutes left, Vincent jeered from the sidelines. Hit her, Dominic. Dominic cornered her, unleashed a flurry of body shots. Stella covered up, elbows tight to her ribs, the shell defense. To Dominic, it looked like cowering. In reality, she was catching every punch on her forearms and elbows, protecting vital organs. He hits hard, she noted analytically. Good power, poor accuracy. He overcommits his weight. One of Dominic's punches slipped through, grazed her cheekbone. The skin split. Warm blood trickled down her face. The sight of blood triggered something in Dominic. His eyes darkened. He wound up for a haymaker, a massive telegraphed punch that left his entire midsection exposed. It was instinct, pure muscle memory. The opening was too perfect. As Dominic threw the punch, Stella's body took over. She couldn't help it. She dropped her level, pivoted on her right foot, drove her fist upward, not with full power, but with perfect precision. The solar plexus. The sound was sickeningly wet, a dull thud that seemed to echo off the concrete walls. Dominic's eyes bulged. The air left his lungs in a violent whoosh. He staggered back, clutching his chest. His face turned purple. He gagged, trying to inhale, but his diaphragm was paralyzed. Silence. Vincent dropped his glass. It shattered loudly on the concrete floor. Stella stood there, chest heaving, realizing what she had done. A waitress doesn't know how to throw a liver shot. A waitress doesn't know exactly where the solar plexus is. Dominic dropped to one knee, wheezing. Water streamed from his eyes because his body couldn't process oxygen. But there was no anger in his face. Recognition. He gasped, sucked in a ragged breath. "Who are you?" he wheezed. Stella backed toward the ropes. "I got lucky. You slipped." "Bullshit!" Dominic forced himself to stand. Pain radiated through his torso, but he ignored it. That was a liver shot, shovel hook, professional, precise. He walked toward her, not aggressive this time, terrifying intensity. "You are not a waitress. You are a fighter." "I took a self-defense class," Stella lied, looking for an exit. "Don't lie to me." His voice echoed off the walls. "I know violence when I see it. You move like a killer." He stopped 2 feet from her, grabbed her right hand, forced her palm open, traced the thick yellow calluses on her knuckles with his thumb. "These are not from carrying trays." The heavy iron door burst open. Marcus rushed in, phone in hand. "Boss, we have a problem." Dominic didn't look away from Stella. "I am busy." "It is about her." Marcus held up his phone. On the screen, a grainy photograph. An underground fight pit. A woman in a silver mask. Mid-punch. Perfect form. "I knew I recognized that stance," Marcus said. "Berlin, 6 months ago. The Wraith. She retired Victor Dragos with that exact same liver shot." Dominic took the phone, looked at the photo, looked at Stella. €5 million bounty," Marcus continued. "The Volkov syndicate wants her dead. She refused to throw a fight. She is the ghost of Berlin." Stella's hand moved toward the door. "Run," Dominic said quietly, "and I make one call. Berlin will have a team here in 6 hours. He stepped closer. "Stay, and I protect you. Your choice." Stella's mind raced. She was trapped, exposed. Everything she had built for 6 months was collapsing. "Why would you protect me?" she asked. Before Dominic could answer, his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, listened. His face went pale. "When?" Pause. "How many?" Pause. "Understood." He hung up, looked at Marcus. "The Wolves, 3 SUVs. They are coming for Vincent. They will be here in 10 minutes. Vincent, the drunk associate, suddenly looked sober. "Dominic, you have to protect me. The Wolves think I skimmed their shipment in Jersey. I didn't know they would track me here." "You brought a war to my doorstep," Dominic said, disgust dripping from every word. Gunfire erupted from upstairs, the distinctive pop, pop, pop of semi-automatic pistols. "They are breaching the front," Marcus shouted, pulling a Glock from his waistband. "Boss, we need to get you to the safe room." Dominic looked at Stella. "You can leave through the back. Go. Now." Stella hesitated. She should run. This wasn't her fight. Disappear. Find a new city. Change her name again. But then she heard footsteps thundering down the stairs. The door flew open. 3 men in tactical gear. Suppressed MP5 submachine guns. Moving like soldiers, not street thugs. "Kill everyone," the lead gunman commanded. Marcus fired back, taking cover behind the ring post. Dominic dove behind a stack of gym mats, pulling a pistol from an ankle holster. But Stella was in the open. The lead gunman raised his weapon, aimed directly at her chest. Dominic saw it. "Get down!" he screamed. But Stella didn't get down. She saw the gunman's finger tighten on the trigger, saw the angle of the barrel, calculated distance, trajectory, probability. In that moment, something inside her broke. Or maybe it was something that finally healed. Stella Corvez, the frightened waitress, died. The Wraith was reborn. She didn't run away from the gun. She ran toward it, 15 feet separated Stella from the lead gunman. In the world of ballistics, that is a lifetime. In the world of the Wraith, it was barely a heartbeat. She exploded off her back foot like a sprinter leaving the blocks. The gunman, a seasoned mercenary named Crowley, adjusted his aim. He expected her to zigzag, to dive, to do anything except charge directly at a loaded weapon. By the time his brain registered her trajectory, she was already inside the dead zone, too close for a long rifle to be effective. Stella's left palm slapped the barrel upward. The MP5 discharged. A spray of bullets punched into the concrete ceiling. Dust and debris rained down. Simultaneously, she stepped in. Her right elbow drove into Crowley's throat with surgical precision. The sound of cartilage crushing was audible over the gunfire. Crowley dropped the weapon. Hands flew to his neck, choking on his collapsed windpipe, his eyes wide with the knowledge that he was already dead, just waiting for his body to catch up. Stella didn't pause. She caught the falling MP5 by the strap, spun, used Crowley's slumping body as a human shield. The other two gunmen opened fire. Bullets thudded into Crowley's tactical vest. Each impact jerked his body violently against Stella's back. She could feel the heat of his dying through the Kevlar. Dominic, watching from behind the stack of mats, felt ice run down his spine. He had seen professional hitmen work, Mossad agents in Tel Aviv, Bratva enforcers in Moscow, but he had never seen anything like this. This wasn't brawling. This was geometry, the absolute efficiency of movement. Violence is mathematics. Stella dropped to one knee, peered around Crowley's waist. She didn't spray and pray. She fired 2 single shots. Crack! The second gunman, near the door, dropped with a hole in his forehead. Perfect center mass, brainstem severed, dead before he hit the ground. Crack! The third gunman dove behind the boxing ring. He leveled his weapon at Marcus, who was pinned down and reloading. Marcus, move! Dominic broke cover to provide suppressing fire, but Stella was faster. She tossed the empty submachine gun aside, sprinted toward the ring. Her movements were fluid, practiced. A fighter who had spent 10,000 hours perfecting the art of controlled violence. She vaulted over the top rope, a move that required immense core strength, used the momentum to swing her legs out. The third gunman stood, trying to get a clear shot at Marcus. Stella's scissor kick caught him in the head. 2 feet, full body weight, perfect rotation. The force knocked him unconscious instantly. His helmet clattered away. He crumpled to the floor like a puppet with cut strings. Silence returned to the gym, heavier than before, the kind of silence that follows revelations. The air was thick with cordite and copper. 3 bodies on the concrete, blood pooling, casings scattered like brass confetti. Vincent Zhao cowered in the corner, sobbing. Are they dead? Oh God, are they dead? Stella stood in the center of the carnage, chest heaving, adrenaline beginning to fade, replaced by the cold, hard reality of what she had just done. She had exposed herself. The mask was gone. She turned to look at Dominic. Dominic slowly lowered his pistol. He stepped over debris, his eyes locked on her. He didn't look at the bodies. He only looked at the waitress with the messy bun and the blood-stained tank top. You cleared a room of 3 spec ops mercenaries, he said, his voice hollow, filled with dawning, terrifying realization. In 14 seconds. Stella didn't answer. She walked over to where her glasses lay on the floor, picked them up, put them on. It was a futile gesture, an attempt to put the costume back on, but it was too late. We need to leave, she said, her voice raspy. That was just the breach team. The cleanup crew will be here in 2 minutes. If the wolves are serious, they will burn this building down. Dominic snapped into operational mode. Marcus, get the car around back, now. Marcus, looking at Stella with wide, fearful eyes, scrambled up the stairs. Vincent, let's go. Dominic grabbed the sobbing man by the collar. I cannot walk. My legs don't work, Vincent wailed. Dominic slapped him hard across the face. Walk or die, your choice. They moved toward the emergency exit. Stella took point, moving with tactical precision, checking corners, clearing hallways, signaling when to advance. Dominic watched her back, and he noticed details he had missed before. A tattoo on her right shoulder blade, partially visible through a tear in her tank top. A black chest piece. a queen. The memory hit him like a freight train. 2 years ago, his cousin in Berlin had told him a story, an underground fight ring, a woman who defeated the heavyweight champion. They called her the Wraith. She wore a mask, never spoke, vanished after refusing to throw a fight, leaving behind a trail of broken men and a legend. Dominic felt something strange in his chest, not fear, fascination. The clumsy waitress he had tried to bully was the most dangerous woman on the continent, and currently she was the only thing keeping him alive. They burst into the alley. Marcus waited in an armored SUV, engine running. "Get in," Stella shouted. They piled in. Marcus floored it. Tires screamed. The SUV rocketed into Manhattan traffic. Behind them, the Onyx Club erupted in flames. The wolves had sent a message. This was war. In the back seat, Dominic stared at Stella. She stared out the window, watching the city blur past. "Who are you?" he asked again. Quieter this time, almost reverent. Stella was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, and when she did, her voice carried the weight of 7 years of running, 7 years of hiding, 7 years of being someone she wasn't. "My name is Stella Hayes. I was the Wraith. I have been running for 7 years." She looked out the window, city lights blurring. "When Benjamin died, when the wolves threatened Maya, I disappeared. Spent the first year in America, moving every 2 weeks, learning to be invisible." Her voice went flat, mechanical, the way people sound when recounting trauma. "But invisible doesn't pay bills, doesn't feed a daughter. So I used what I knew. My military training, started taking private security contracts, bodyguard work, high risk, high pay, no questions asked." She turned to look at him. 5 years of that, Eastern Europe, South America, anywhere that needed someone who could fight and didn't exist on paper. Sent every dollar to Mrs. Chen for Maya. Then Berlin, a year ago. The underground circuit was different. Fast money. No background checks, just survive. I became the Wraith. Won 12 straight fights, made enough to bring Maya home. Her jaw tightened. But I refused to throw a fight for the Volkov Syndicate. That was 6 months ago. Been running since. Came back to New York 3 months ago, got the Waitress job. Was saving money to disappear one more time. Somewhere they'd never find us. She looked at him. Until tonight. She turned to look at him. Those green eyes burning with intensity. "And in 72 hours they are going to find me. When they do, they will not just kill me." Her voice broke. "They will kill my daughter." The SUV sped through the city. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Smoke rose from Midtown like a funeral pyre. And Dominic Cross, the king of New York's underworld, made a decision that would change everything. "Then we have 72 hours, he said, to make sure they never get the chance." Stella looked at him, searching for the lie, the angle, the betrayal. She saw only determination. "Why would you help me?" Dominic's hand went to his watch. The Patek Philippe, the one his daughter wore every day until the accident, the one engraved with words he could recite in his sleep. "Because 7 years ago, I made a promise to a man named Benjamin Hayes, your husband, my partner, my friend." Stella's eyes widened. "He was trying to protect my operation when he died. I owe him a debt I can never repay." Dominic leaned forward. "But I can start by protecting his family." The weight of the revelation hung in the air between them. Stella's husband, Dominic's friend, connected by tragedy, separated by 7 years of secrets and survival. "Benjamin," she whispered, the name she hadn't spoken aloud in 7 years. "He told me about you," Dominic said, "about your daughter Maya, about how you were the strongest person he ever knew. He made me promise that if anything happened to him, I would find you, protect you." A tear ran down Stella's face. "I looked for you after the funeral," Dominic continued. "You vanished. I thought maybe you were dead too." "I was," Stella said. "For 7 years, Stella Hayes was dead. Only the Wraith survived." She wiped the tear away. "But the Wraith made too many enemies. And now I have nowhere left to run." Dominic extended his hand. "Then stop running. Stand and fight. With me." Stella looked at his hand, calloused, scarred, the hand of a man who had built an empire from blood and determination. She took it. Their grip was firm, a warrior's handshake, an alliance forged in violence and sealed with trust that hadn't been earned yet, but would be tested in the fires to come. 72 hours, she said. We survived 72 hours, and then what? Dominic smiled, but it wasn't the cold smirk from earlier. It was something different, something human. Then we built something new, from the ashes, together. The SUV disappeared into the city. Behind them, the Onyx burned. Ahead of them, 72 hours of hell. And somewhere in Queens, a 7-year-old girl named Maya Hayes slept peacefully, unaware that her mother had just stopped running, unaware that the most dangerous woman in the world was coming home, unaware that sometimes the only way to protect the ones you love is to become the monster you've been hiding from. The Wraith had returned to New York, and God help anyone who stood between her and her daughter. Steinway Tower, 90th floor, the kind of address that didn't appear on public records. The penthouse was a fortress disguised as luxury, bulletproof polycarbonate windows that could withstand a 50 caliber round, walls reinforced with steel plates hidden behind Italian marble, elevator access controlled by retinal scan, and 3 separate security protocols. Dominic owned it through a shell corporation buried under 6 layers of legal obfuscation. Even the IRS didn't know this place existed. Perfect for hiding from people who wanted you dead. The SUV pulled into the private underground garage at 3 in the morning. Tuesday. 68 hours remaining until the merger. 68 hours until Dominic's exit from the underworld became official, if he lived that long. They took the private elevator. Marcus stood at the control panel, hand on his weapon. Vincent Zhao slumped in the corner, drunk and terrified. Stella leaned against the wall, eyes closed, breathing controlled. Dominic watched her. Even now, covered in blood and cordite, there was a grace to her stillness. The poise of a predator conserving energy between hunts. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse living room. 20-foot ceilings, minimalist furniture, abstract art worth millions on the walls. Floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of Manhattan that looked like a galaxy laid out below them. Marcus swept the apartment. Professional, thorough. Checked every room, every closet, every possible entry point. Clear, he announced. Vincent immediately stumbled to the bar, poured himself scotch with shaking hands. They are going to kill us all. The wolves don't forgive. They don't forget. We are dead. We just don't know it yet. Dominic ignored him, turned to Stella. You need medical attention. That cut on your face, she touched her cheekbone. Blood had dried there. I have had worse. I'm sure you have. He gestured to a leather sofa. Sit. Let me see it. I can take care of myself. I know you can. His voice softened. But you don't have to. Not anymore. Something in his tone made her comply. She sat. Dominic retrieved a first aid kit from a cabinet. Medical grade. Not the drugstore kind. He sat beside her, opened the kit, pulled out antiseptic wipes. This will sting, he warned. Everything stings, she replied. He cleaned the wound. She didn't flinch. Not when the antiseptic bit into torn skin. Not when he applied butterfly bandages to close it. She sat perfectly still, watching him with those green eyes that seemed to see through walls. You are good at this, she observed. I have had practice. He finished the bandage, sat back. 20 years in this life teaches you field medicine. Silence settled between them, not uncomfortable. The silence of 2 people who had seen violence and survived it and understood that words weren't always necessary. Finally, Stella spoke. You said you knew my husband, Benjamin Hayes. Dominic nodded. He was my partner. Before all this, before the underworld consumed everything. Tell me about him, the version you knew. Dominic stood, walked to the window. The city sprawled below like a circuit board of light and shadow. Benjamin was the best man I ever knew. Honest, principled. When my daughter died, when my wife left, when I was drowning in grief and rage, he pulled me back. He tried to keep me on the straight path. He turned to face her, but I didn't listen. I went into the darkness anyway. Built an empire on violence and fear. Benjamin stayed legitimate, tried to guide me back. He was investigating the wolves, gathering evidence to help me escape the life. Dominic's voice cracked. He died because of me. because I was too deep in the darkness to see the light he was offering. Stella stood, crossed the room, stood beside him at the window. He died because the wolves are animals, not because of you. I could have protected him. You cannot protect everyone. Her voice carried the weight of experience. I learned that the hard way. They stood in silence, two warriors who understood loss, who carried the dead with them like armor too heavy to remove, but too necessary to abandon. Maya, Stella said suddenly, my daughter. I need to call her. She will be worried. Dominic handed her a phone, encrypted, untraceable. Stella dialed, waited. A woman's voice answered, Mrs. Chen, the foster mother who had kept Maya safe while Stella fought in Berlin. It is me, Stella said. Is she safe? She is sleeping. But Stella, she had nightmares tonight, asking about you. When are you coming home? Stella closed her eyes. Soon, I promise. Can you keep her one more day, maybe two? Of course, but Stella, what is happening? I am fixing things, so we can stop hiding, so Maya can have a real life. She hung up, handed the phone back to Dominic. I need to bring her here, she said. If the wolves know about me, they will find her. Use her to get to me. Dominic was already pulling out his own phone. Marcus, get a team. Queens, I am texting you the address. Extract one 7-year-old girl and her guardian. Bring them here. Full security protocol. Marcus nodded, left immediately. Stella grabbed Dominic's arm. If anything happens to her because of this, nothing will happen to her. His voice was steel. I made a promise to Benjamin. I keep my promises. When they arrived 90 minutes later, 4 in the morning, 66 hours remaining. The elevator doors opened. Marcus entered first. Behind him, Mrs. Chen, elderly, Chinese, carrying 2 bags, and holding her hand, a little girl. Maya Hayes was 7 years old. Bright eyes, dark hair pulled into pigtails. She wore pajamas with cartoon characters, too big for her, hand-me-downs, and on her wrist a watch, adult-sized, a man's watch. It hung loose, threatening to slide off her small arm. She looked around the penthouse with wide eyes, taking in the luxury, the space, the impossible wealth. Then she saw her mother. Mommy! Maya ran. Stella dropped to her knees, caught her daughter, held her like she was the only real thing in a world of ghosts and violence. I am here, baby. I am here. Maya pulled back, looked at the bandage on her mother's face. You are hurt. It is just a scratch. You promised you wouldn't fight anymore. Stella's heart broke. I know, sweetheart. But sometimes we have to fight to protect the people we love. Maya seemed to accept this. She turned, saw Dominic standing by the window. This tall, intimidating man in an expensive suit watching them with an expression that was hard to read. Who is that? Maya whispered. That is Mr. Cross. He is helping us. Maya walked toward Dominic. No fear. Children have an instinct for reading people that adults lose somewhere along the way. She stopped in front of him, looked up, had to crane her neck because he was so tall. Are you a good guy or a bad guy? She asked. The question was so direct, so innocent, it caught Dominic off guard. He knelt, brought himself down to her level, eye to eye. I have been a bad guy, he said honestly, for a long time, but I am trying to be better. Maya considered this. Then she held up her wrist, showed him the watch. This was my daddy's. He was a good guy. He died trying to help people. Dominic looked at the watch. His breath caught. He recognized it. A Timex expedition. Nothing expensive, but he had been there when Benjamin bought it. They were partners then, before the darkness. Benjamin said he wanted a watch that could survive anything because he had a daughter to come home to. Your daddy gave me a watch too, Dominic said, his voice thick. For my daughter. She wore it every day. Where is she? She died a long time ago. She was your age. Maya processed this. Then she did something Dominic didn't expect. She hugged him. This small child, the 7-year-old girl who had every reason to be afraid of men like him, wrapped her arms around his neck and hugged him. Dominic froze. He hadn't been hugged in 10 years, not since Sophie died. He had built walls so high and thick that human warmth couldn't penetrate. But Maya's small arms around his neck cracked something inside him. He hugged her back, carefully, like she was made of glass. Over her shoulder, he saw Stella watching, tears streaming down her face. When Maya pulled back, she smiled at him. Then you understand, missing someone who isn't coming back. Yes, Dominic whispered. I understand. Maya took his hand. Mommy says people who understand loss can help each other be less lonely. Dominic looked at this child, this impossibly wise, impossibly brave little girl, and he made a decision that had nothing to do with debts owed to dead friends, nothing to do with strategy or survival. He made a promise to himself. Whatever it took, however long, he would keep this child safe. Because protecting Maya wasn't just about honoring Benjamin's memory. It was about saving the part of Dominic Cross that still remembered how to be human. Tuesday afternoon, 58 hours remaining. They couldn't stay in the penthouse. Too obvious. The wolves had resources. Hackers, corrupt cops. Someone would talk. Someone always talked. Dominic made a call. 20 minutes later, they were in a different vehicle. No GPS, no electronic signature. Heading to a part of the city that didn't appear in tourist guides. Beneath the elevated tracks of the 4 train, where the city's bones showed through its skin, where gentrification hadn't reached because even developers knew some places were better left alone. A building that looked abandoned. Steel door with no sign, no windows. Dominic knocked. 3 times. Pause. Twice more. The door opened. A man stood there. 65 years old, built like a granite monument. Face carved from old leather and scar tissue. Arms thick as tree trunks. Knuckles that looked like they had been broken and reset so many times the bones grew back angry. Iron Tommy, former heavyweight boxer, trained 3 world champions. Ran an underground gym where real fighters came to test themselves away from cameras and regulations. He looked from Dominic to Stella to Maya. You bringing civilians to my gym now, Cross? They are not civilians, Dominic said. She is the Wraith. Tommy's eyes widened, looked at Stella again, studied her stance, her posture, the way she positioned herself between Maya and potential threats. Berlin, he said. It wasn't a question. Stella nodded. Tommy smiled. Rare. His face didn't seem built for it. Saw footage of your fight with Dragos. Best liver shot I have seen in 40 years. Come in. The gym smelled exactly like every real training facility. Sweat, liniment, blood, iron. The scent of people pushing past their limits and leaving pieces of themselves on the canvas. A boxing ring dominated the center. Heavy bags hung from chains, speed bags, free weights, everything worn but maintained with religious care. You can stay here, Tommy said. Nobody comes here who I don't invite. You are safe. Maya looked around with wide eyes. Mommy, is this where you learn to fight? No, baby. But it is where we are going to stay for a little while. Tommy showed them to a back room. Simple, clean, 2 cots, a bathroom. Spartan, but secure. Thank you, Stella said. Tommy shrugged. Any enemy of the wolves is a friend of mine. They killed my nephew. I owe them blood. He left them alone. Stella settled Maya on one of the cots, tucked her in even though it was afternoon. Try to sleep, sweetheart. You are safe here. You will be here when I wake up? I promise. Maya's eyes were already closing. Exhaustion from the early morning extraction catching up with her. When Stella was sure Maya was asleep, she found Dominic in the main gym. He was at a heavy bag, bare knuckle, throwing combinations. Good form. Strong. But she could see the flaws. The overextension. The dropped guard. The telegraphed hooks. She watched him for 3 rounds. When he stopped, breathing hard, she spoke. You fight with anger. He turned, surprised. He hadn't heard her approach. Anger has kept me alive. Anger makes you predictable. Predictable makes you dead. She stepped onto the canvas, raised her hands. If we are going to survive the next 2 days, you need to be better. Dominic smiled, stepped into the ring. You are offering to train me. I am offering to keep you from getting killed. She circled him. The wolves are not street thugs. They are professionals. Former military, spec ops. They move like I do. So teach me to move like you. For 6 hours, Stella broke down everything Dominic thought he knew about fighting. She showed him how to slip punches with minimal movement, How to read an opponent's tells in the microseconds before they committed to a strike. How to use economy of motion to conserve energy while maximizing damage. You fight to intimidate, she said, circling him. You want your opponent to be afraid. But fear makes people desperate. Desperate people are dangerous. She threw a jab, slow enough for him to see it coming. Don't try to break the wave, be the water. He tried to block. She adjusted, slipped around his guard, tapped his solar plexus, pulled the punch but made the point. Again. They drilled, over and over, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, but not the way Dominic had learned in street fights and underground rings. Stella taught him precision, angles, how to make every movement serve two purposes, how to defend while positioning for the counter. Tommy watched from outside the ring, nodding approvingly. She is good, he said to Marcus, who stood guard at the door. She is terrifying, Marcus replied. After 4 hours, Dominic was drenched in sweat, muscles screaming, but he was learning. Stella threw a combination, jab, cross, hook. This time, Dominic didn't just block. He slipped the jab, parried the cross, and when the hook came, he saw the opening. His counter was instinct, a liver shot. The same technique she had used on him in the Onyx basement. She didn't have time to fully defend. His fist connected. Not full power, but enough. Stella's eyes widened. She stepped back, smiled. Good, you learned fast. Dominic grinned, first genuine smile in years. I have a good teacher. They broke for water, sat on the canvas, backs against the ropes. Why are you doing this? Dominic asked. Helping me, training me. You could disappear right now, take Maya, vanish again. Stella was quiet for a long moment. Because I am tired of running. Because Maya deserves better than a mother who jumps at shadows. Because Benjamin believed in you. And because... She trailed off. Because I see what you are trying to become, not what you were. The Dominic Cross who kneels for a 7-year-old girl, who makes promises to dead friends, who is trying to walk out of the darkness even though the darkness is all you have known for 10 years. She looked at him. That man is worth fighting for. Their eyes met, held. Something passed between them, not romance, not yet, but recognition. Two broken people finding something in each other that resembled hope. The moment was shattered by Marcus's voice. Boss, we have a problem. Marcus held up a tablet, security footage from the Onyx, timestamp from the attack. I pulled backup feeds from the servers before the building burned. Watched everyone who was in the club before the wolves hit. He tapped the screen, showed Vincent Zhao in the bathroom, alone, on his phone. This is 20 minutes before the breach. He made a call. I tracked the number. Another tap. Phone records. Registered to a shell company. Same shell company that owns 3 businesses we know are wolves fronts. Dominic's face went cold. Vincent called them. He told them we were there. It gets worse. Marcus swiped to another image. He made another call 2 hours ago. From the burner phone I gave him for emergencies. The blood drained from Dominic's face. He knows we are here. As if summoned by the revelation, Vincent emerged from the bathroom, saw them huddled around the tablet, saw the look on Dominic's face. He ran. Marcus moved to intercept. But Vincent was closer to the door. He burst out into the street, directly into the arms of 4 men in black tactical gear. The wolves had arrived. Everyone down, Stella screamed. The front windows exploded inward. Glass became shrapnel. Suppressed gunfire stitched across the walls. Tommy dove behind the heavy bags. Dominic rolled toward cover. Marcus returned fire. Stella sprinted to the back room. Maya. The little girl was awake, eyes wide with terror. Under the cot, Stella commanded. Do not move. Do not make a sound. Maya scrambled underneath. Stella kissed her forehead. I love you, baby. Then the wraith stood, grabbed 2 weapons from a cache Tommy kept hidden in the wall. A Glock 19, a combat knife. She moved back into the main gym. Chaos. 4 wolves operatives had breached. Tommy was down, not dead but bleeding from his shoulder. Marcus was pinned behind the ring, trading shots with 2 of them. Dominic had grabbed a pipe from the weight rack, using it like a staff, holding off one attacker with sheer desperation. The 4th operative was moving toward the back room, toward Maya. Stella didn't think, didn't hesitate. She threw the knife. 20 feet. Perfect rotation. The blade buried itself in the operative's thigh. He screamed, went down. She was on him in seconds, disarmed him, rendered him unconscious with a calculated strike to the temple. "Marcus!" she yelled, suppressing fire. Marcus understood. He rose from cover, emptied his magazine in controlled bursts. The two operatives focused on him. Big mistake. Stella flanked, came at them from the side. Close quarters combat. The kind where size and strength mattered less than speed and precision. She cleared both threats in 11 seconds. That left one, the one fighting Dominic. He was bigger, trained. But Dominic had spent 6 hours learning to move like water. When the operative threw a wild haymaker, Dominic slipped it, just like Stella taught him. Minimal movement, maximum efficiency. His counter was the liver shot. Perfect placement, perfect technique. The operative dropped. Silence, except for ragged breathing. Gunpowder smoke hanging in the air like ghosts. "Everyone alive?" Dominic called out. "Alive," Marcus confirmed. "Tommy is hit but stable." Stella ran to the back room. Maya was still under the cot, trembling but unharmed. "It is over, baby. You are safe." But even as she said it, sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the police. "We need to move," Marcus said. "Now." They couldn't take the SUV, too hot. Marcus led them to a backup vehicle, a delivery van, nondescript, perfect for disappearing. Tommy waved them off. "Go, I will handle the cops. This is my gym, my fight." They piled into the van. Marcus drove. Dominic in passenger seat, Stella and Maya in back. They were 3 blocks away when Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. A voice. Male. Eastern European accent. Cold as winter in Siberian prison. "Hello, Marcus Volkov. Long time since you left motherland. But Mother Russia never forgets her sons." Marcus's face went white. "Who is this?" "I am Victor Kane, leader of the Wolves. But you already know this, yes, because you trained with my brother in Spetsnaz before you defected and became lapdog for American gangster." Dominic looked at Marcus. What is he talking about? Victor continued, "I know you are in white van, license plate 7 Charlie David 492. I know you have the woman, the child, and the fool who thinks he can leave the underworld." "How?" Marcus breathed. "Because Vincent Zhao is not the only one in your organization who answers to me. I have people everywhere, Marcus, even in your safe houses." The van swerved, Marcus fighting panic. "What do you want?" Dominic demanded. "Simple. Bring me the woman, the Wraith. Berlin wants her dead. They pay me 5 million euro. I keep that. You keep your life. Everyone wins. Except her. She is already dead, just breathing on borrowed time. Choose Dominic Cross, her life, or everyone you love." The line went dead. Marcus pulled over, hands shaking on the wheel. "I didn't betray you, boss, I swear. But if he has people inside our organization, we cannot trust anyone," Dominic finished. They drove in silence, paranoid, watching every car, every pedestrian. Everyone was a potential threat. Marcus took them to a safe house Dominic didn't know about. An old building in Brooklyn, warehouse district, abandoned except for squatters. They climbed 6 flights of stairs. Marcus was limping, old injury from his Spetsnaz days acting up under stress. The rooftop was flat, tar and gravel, rusted HV ACE units, pigeon droppings, the romantic New York skyline in the distance. "We rest here until dark," Marcus said. "Then we move again. I know places even the wolves cannot find." Maya was asleep in Stella's arms, exhausted from terror and adrenaline crash. Dominic stood at the edge of the roof, looking at the city he had ruled, the empire he had built, crumbling around him because he dared to dream of legitimacy. Stella joined him, Maya still in her arms. "You should take her and go," Dominic said. "This is my war, not yours. It became mine the moment they threatened my daughter. I cannot protect you. Victor has people everywhere. We are surrounded by traitors. Then we trust no one but each other." Dominic looked at her. This woman who had saved his life twice in one day, who taught him to fight, who saw past the monster he had been and glimpsed the man he was trying to become. I am not a good man, Stella. I am not a good woman. We are survivors. That is enough. Behind them, Marcus leaned against an HVAC unit, breathing hard, clutching his side. Boss, he called weakly, I need to tell you something. Dominic and Stella turned. Marcus's face was pale, sweating despite the cold. The Spetsnaz, Victor's brother, it is true. We trained together 30 years ago, before I defected. Why didn't you tell me? Because I left that life behind, because I thought I could escape. He slid down the HVAC unit, sat heavily on the tar. But the past never lets go, does it? That's when they heard it, the helicopter. Distant at first, then closer, running lights cutting through the dusk. No, Marcus whispered. No, they couldn't have. The helicopter banked, circled the building, searchlights swept across the rooftop. The side door opened. A rifle barrel emerged. Run! Stella screamed. She sprinted toward the stairwell, Dominic right behind her, Maya jolting awake in her mother's arms. Marcus pushed himself up, tried to run, but his old injury, his age, his decades of violence catching up all at once. He was too slow. The rifle cracked. Once. Marcus stumbled. Blood bloomed across his chest. He fell to his knees. Marcus! Dominic turned back. Go, Marcus roared, blood bubbling at his lips. Protect the girl. Keep your promise. The helicopter descended. Ropes dropped. Wolves' operatives began to rappel down. Marcus pulled his weapon, fired upward, not to kill, just to buy time. Go, he screamed again. Dominic's face twisted in anguish. But Stella grabbed his arm, pulled him toward the stairs. They ran. Behind them, Marcus Volkov, loyal soldier for 20 years, covered their escape with his last breath. The stairwell thundered with their footsteps. 6 flights down. Stella in the lead. Maya crying but silent, understanding somehow that noise meant death. They burst onto the street, into an alley. The van was gone, commandeered or destroyed. They ran on foot, into the Brooklyn night, hunted, alone. Above them, the helicopter's searchlight swept back and forth. Victor Kane's voice crackled over loudspeakers mounted on the aircraft. You cannot run forever, Dominic Cross. I have your city, I have your people. In 48 hours, you will give me the woman, or I will burn everything you love to ash. The helicopter banked away, heading back into Manhattan airspace. Silence returned to the Brooklyn streets. Stella and Dominic collapsed in a doorway, Maya between them, all three breathing hard, hearts hammering. Marcus, Dominic whispered, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face. He died protecting us, Stella said gently. There is no better death for a warrior. Dominic looked at her, at Maya, at the impossible situation they were in. 48 hours until the merger. 48 hours until Victor's deadline. The wolves everywhere. No safe house. No allies. Just a gangster trying to go straight. A fighter trying to protect her daughter. And a 7-year-old girl who deserved better than this world of violence. What do we do now? He asked. Stella stood, helped him up, took his hand. We stopped running, she said, her eyes burning with a fire that could melt steel. We go on the offensive. We take the fight to them. How? She smiled. Dangerous, beautiful, terrifying. I was the wraith, the ghost who haunted Berlin's underworld. I terrorized the most dangerous men in Europe. She looked at the Manhattan skyline. Time to remind New York why ghosts are the things that monsters fear. Dominic looked at this woman, this warrior, this mother who would burn the world to protect her child, and he believed her. Together they walked into the darkness, hunted becoming hunters, prey becoming predators. The wolves thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming. Wednesday morning, 44 hours remaining, they spent the night in a place the wolves would never look. A church? St. Augustine's in Red Hook. The priest was an old friend of Benjamin Hayes, a man who understood that sometimes sanctuary meant more than prayer. Father Michael asked no questions, gave them the basement, blankets, hot coffee, a safe place to plan. Maya slept on a cot, exhausted, traumatized but resilient in the way children can be when they have no choice. Stella sat beside her daughter, stroked her hair, whispered promises she prayed she could keep. Dominic stood at a small window, looking out at the pre-dawn darkness. His phone showed 17 missed calls from business partners, from board members, from lawyers handling the merger. In 44 hours, he was supposed to sign documents that would legitimize his entire empire, transform Sterling Security from a front for underworld operations into a real corporation. Clean, legal, a legacy worth leaving. Instead, he was hiding in a church basement, his head of security dead, his organization compromised, his enemies closing in. He had lost everything, except the two people sleeping behind him. Stella approached, silent as always. He didn't hear her, just felt her presence. "You should be sleeping," he said without turning. "Sleep is for people who aren't being hunted." "Fair point." She stood beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "Marcus died because of me," Dominic said, his voice hollow. 20 years of loyalty, and I got him killed. He died because the wolves are animals, and because he chose to protect us. That was his choice. Honor it by making his sacrifice mean something. Dominic turned to look at her. Even in the dim light, her eyes were striking, green fire that refused to be extinguished. "How do we fight them? Victor has the city. He has my organization. We have nothing. We have what they don't expect." She smiled. "We have me." Father Michael joined them, brought more coffee. The priest was 70, white hair, kind eyes that had seen too much suffering and somehow remained kind anyway. "Benjamin spoke of you," he said to Dominic, "before he died. He said you were a good man trapped in a bad life. Said if anyone could walk out of darkness, it was you." Dominic's throat tightened. "I'm not sure he was right." "He usually was." The priest set down a newspaper, today's edition. The headline made Dominic's blood run cold. "Midtown Massacre, Gang War Erupts, Cross Empire Crumbling, Photos of the Onyx Burning, Police Tape, Body Bags." "They are framing you," Father Michael said, "making you the villain. By tomorrow, every cop in the city will be looking for you." "Good," Stella said. Both men looked at her. "Good?" Dominic repeated. "If they are looking for you, they are not looking for me. And more importantly, they are not looking for what we are really planning." She spread a map on the table. "Manhattan, marked with red circles. Victor Kane operates from 3 locations. His penthouse in Tribeca, a warehouse in the Bronx, and he just took over the Onyx." Dominic leaned forward. "The Onyx is rubble. He is rebuilding it. Fast. I have been monitoring police band radio, construction crews working 24 hours. He wants to claim your throne, make a statement." She tapped the map. "In 48 hours, he is hosting a gathering. All the underworld powers, Russian, Italian, Chinese, everyone. He is going to announce that he controls New York now. That the Cross Empire is dead. He is not wrong. He is if we kill him first." Dominic stared at her. "You want to attack the Onyx during a gathering of every dangerous criminal in New York, while the police are hunting us, with no backup, no weapons, no plan." "I have a plan," she looked at him, "but it requires you to trust me completely. I trust you with my life, not your life." She glanced at Maya, still sleeping. Hers. The weight of that settled between them. Father Michael excused himself, left them alone with the impossible decision. "What do you need?" Dominic asked finally. "I need 24 hours. I need you to do exactly what I say, and I need you to be willing to walk into hell beside me. I have been in hell for 10 years. At least this time I will have company." She almost smiled. "There is one more thing." "What?" "I need you to become what you were always meant to be, not the gangster, not the businessman, the warrior." "I am not a warrior. I am a thug who got lucky." "Marcus didn't die protecting a thug. Benjamin didn't sacrifice himself for a coward. And Maya doesn't look at you like you are a monster." She stepped closer. "You are a warrior, Dominic Cross. You just forgot. Time to remember." And they moved to another location, an old meatpacking plant, abandoned for years. Father Michael had connections, keys, access. The main floor was open space, concrete, hooks still hanging from the ceiling where carcasses once hung. The smell of old blood and rust never fully leaves a place like this. Perfect for what Stella had in mind. Maya stayed with Father Michael at the church. Safe. Protected. It tore Stella apart to leave her. But what came next was too dangerous for a child to see. Dominic stood in the center of the empty floor. Stella circled him like a predator assessing prey. Last night you learned basics, she said. Today you learned to survive against a Spetsnaz-trained killer. Victor was Spetsnaz? Worse, he was Vimpel, counterterrorism, hostage rescue, the ones they send when regular special forces isn't enough. She picked up a pipe from the rubble, tossed it to him. That is your weapon. I have this. She picked up a length of chain. We are going to fight, full contact. You are going to lose repeatedly, but each time you get up, you will be better. And if I don't get up, then Maya loses another father figure, and I bury another good man. So get up. She attacked. No warning, no countdown. The chain whipped through the air. Dominic barely got the pipe up in time to block. The impact jarred his arms. She was strong. Impossibly strong for her size. She didn't let up. Came at him from three angles. High, low, sweep. He backpedaled. Defensive. Reactive. She swept his legs. He went down hard. Get up! He got up. She attacked again. This time he tried to counter. Too slow. She was inside his guard before he completed the movement. Chain around his neck. Pulled tight but not lethal. You are thinking too much, she hissed in his ear. Stop thinking. React. She released him. He staggered forward, gasping. Again. For 6 hours, Stella broke him. Physically. Mentally. Every time he fell, she forced him up. Every time he made a mistake, she punished it. No mercy, no compassion. This wasn't training. This was war. And slowly something changed. Around hour 4, Dominic stopped thinking. His body remembered things his mind had forgotten. The violence from his youth. The street fights that built his empire. The killer instinct he had buried under suits and boardrooms. It came roaring back. Stella attacked with the chain. This time, Dominic didn't block. He trapped it, wrapped it around the pipe, yanked. She stumbled forward, off balance for a fraction of a second. His elbow came up, stopped an inch from her throat. She smiled. Better. They reset. Went again. By hour 6, Dominic was moving like water, flowing around her attacks, countering with precision, not winning, not yet, but surviving, learning. Stella called a break. They sat against the wall, both breathing hard, covered in sweat and bruises. You were holding back, Dominic said. You could have killed me a dozen times. Yes. Why didn't you? Because I need you alive for what comes next, and because... She paused. Because Maya would never forgive me. Dominic looked at her. Really looked. Past the warrior, past the wraith, saw the woman, the mother, the person who had been running for 7 years and was finally making a stand. When this is over, he said, when Victor is dead and the wolves are scattered, what will you do? I don't know. I have been surviving so long I forgot how to live. You could stay in New York with me. She met his eyes. Why would I do that? Because Maya needs stability, because you deserve a home, and because... He reached out, touched her face, gentle, reverent. Because I haven't felt human in 10 years. But when I am with you and Maya, I remember what it was like to be more than a monster. Stella's breath caught. She leaned into his touch, just for a moment. Then she pulled back. Ask me again when we survive tomorrow. Deal. 20 hours remaining. They returned to the church. Maya ran to her mother, hugged her like she had been gone for years instead of hours. Did you win? Maya asked. Stella smiled, tired but real. We are still here. That is winning. Father Michael had news. Bad news. The FBI issued a warrant for both of you. Murder, terrorism, gang violence. They have photos, witnesses. Victor's people are good. How long until they find us here? Dominic asked. Maybe hours, maybe minutes. This place won't stay hidden forever. Stella nodded. She had expected this. Then we move up the timeline. We hit the Onyx tonight. Tonight? Dominic frowned. I thought we had until tomorrow. Victor moved his gathering. It is happening in 6 hours. Every major player in the city will be there, including FBI agents on his payroll. She pulled out a schematic. Blueprints of the Onyx, marked up, annotated. I spent last night planning while you slept. Here is how we get in. Here is how we get to Victor. And here is how we get out alive. She pulled a small device from her pocket. Military grade. Looked like a pen. Father Michael had this. Voice-activated recorder. DIA standard issue. Records up to 12 hours. Transmits to encrypted cloud backup in real time. She clicked it. A tiny red light blinked. We get Victor talking. Get him to confess everything. Benjamin's murder, the corruption, the terrorism, on record, admissible in court. Dominic examined it. This is government hardware. Father Michael has friends, military chaplain before he became priest. Some of those friends still owe him favors. Will it hold up legally? One-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows they're being recorded, it's legal. I'll be that person. She pocketed it. Victor loves to brag, loves to show power. He won't be able to resist telling us how smart he is. That's when we get him. Dominic studied the plans. It was insane, suicidal, brilliant. This depends on perfect timing. Yes. And assumes nothing goes wrong. Yes. And requires us to walk into a room full of killers with no backup. Yes. He looked at her. I love it. Maya tugged on Dominic's sleeve. He knelt down. Mr. Cross, are you going to fight bad guys? He glanced at Stella. She nodded. Permission to be honest. Yes, Maya, I am going to fight very bad men, so your mother doesn't have to run anymore. Will you win? I don't know. Maya hugged him, fierce, strong. My daddy used to say that brave doesn't mean not scared. Brave means doing the right thing even when you are scared. Dominic held her. This little girl who had lost one father and was about to watch another walk into death. Your daddy was a wise man. Don't die, Mr. Cross. Mommy needs you. And I think I do too. His heart broke and healed at the same time. I will try my very best not to. Thursday night, 6 hours before the merger deadline. The Onyx had risen from ashes like a dark phoenix. Victor Kane had money, resources, connections. In 4 days, he rebuilt what took Dominic years to create. The penthouse club gleamed. New velvet, new marble. Everything polished and perfect. As if the massacre had never happened. Limousines lined the street, security everywhere. Men in suits with earpieces and concealed weapons. This wasn't just a party. This was a coronation. Victor Kane stood in the center of the main room, 55 years old. Gray hair cut military short. Face like a hatchet blade. Eyes that had seen too many interrogations in too many black sites. He wore a suit, Italian, expensive. But underneath you could see the soldier. The way he stood, the way he assessed every person in the room as threat or asset. Around him, the powers of New York's underworld. Russians, Italians, Chinese triads, Irish, everyone who mattered. Everyone who wanted a piece of what Dominic Cross once controlled. Gentlemen, Victor said, his accent thick, but his English perfect. Thank you for coming. Tonight we celebrate new beginning. Dominic Cross is finished. His empire is mine. His territory is ours to divide. Applause, champagne glasses raised. But before business, I have gift for you. He gestured to the door. 2 guards dragged someone in, beaten, bloody, barely conscious. Vincent Zhao, the traitor who had led the wolves to Dominic. This man betrayed his boss, Victor announced. Thought I would reward him. But I do not reward traitors. I use them. Then I discard them. He pulled a pistol, suppressed, put it to Vincent's head. Vincent had time for one word. Please. Victor pulled the trigger. The body slumped. Guards dragged it away. The celebration continued as if nothing had happened. Now, Victor smiled, let us discuss the future. That is when the lights went out. Total darkness, 3 seconds. Emergency lights kicked in. Red, dim, turning the penthouse into something from a nightmare. And in the center of the room where there had been nothing now stood two figures. Dominic Cross, suit torn, face bruised, gun in hand, and beside him, Stella Hayes, no longer the waitress, no longer hiding, the wraith in full view. The room froze. Victor's smile didn't falter. Dominic, I was hoping you would come. I am hard to kill. Yes, but not impossible. Victor gestured, 20 guns aimed at them from every angle. Dominic and Stella didn't move, didn't flinch. You made a mistake, Dominic said, his voice carrying across the silent room. You thought I built this empire on fear, on violence. You thought taking the Onyx meant you won. I did win. No, Stella spoke now, cold, certain. You took a building. He built a legacy. She looked around the room, at all the crime bosses who had come to divide Dominic's empire like vultures. Every person in this room owes Dominic Cross. He kept the peace, maintained order, made you all rich, and the moment he fell, you came to pick his bones. That is how this world works, Victor said. The strong survive, the weak are consumed. Then let's test who is strong. Stella moved, not toward Victor, toward the nearest guard. Before he could react, she disarmed him, used his body as a shield, fired 3 shots. 3 guards dropped. Perfect headshots. Chaos erupted. But it wasn't random chaos. Stella and Dominic had planned every second. Dominic went low, rolled toward cover, came up firing. Not wildly, precise. He had learned, each shot calculated. The crime bosses dove for cover. This was their nightmare, caught in a crossfire. No loyalty here. Every man for himself. Stella moved like a ghost, exactly like her name. One moment visible, next moment gone, reappearing behind targets, neutralizing threats. She wasn't trying to kill everyone, just create enough chaos that Victor's control shattered. And it worked. The Italian contingent decided they didn't need this. They fought their way to the exit, left. The Chinese followed, guns blazing. But not at Dominic, at Victor's men. Old grudges surfacing. Within 2 minutes, Victor's coronation became a war zone. And in the center of it, Dominic and Stella fought back to back, moving in perfect synchronization. He covered her blind spots. She covered his. 2 warriors who had learned to trust completely. Victor watched his party disintegrate. His face remained calm, but his eyes promised death. He gestured to 4 men, his personal guard, Vimple trained, like him. Kill them, slowly. The 4 guards were not ordinary thugs. They moved like Stella, trained, professional, lethal. They surrounded Dominic and Stella, boxed them in. Last chance, Victor called from his position near the bar. Surrender. I will make death quick. Pass, Stella replied. The guards attacked in coordination. 2 on Stella, 2 on Dominic. This was different. These men knew how to fight someone like the Wraith. They didn't rush. They probed, tested, looked for openings. Stella blocked, countered, but she was outnumbered. A punch got through, caught her ribs. She grunted, fell back. Dominic saw. His protective instinct roared to life. The training took over. Everything Stella taught him crystallized in that moment. He didn't fight his opponents. He flowed around them, slipped a jab, parried across, saw the opening, the liver shot. Perfect execution. 1 guard dropped. The 2nd guard adjusted, came at Dominic from a different angle. But Dominic was ready. The pipe from training appeared in his hand, grabbed from a guard's belt. He used it like Stella taught him. Extension of his arm, struck the guard's knee, swept his legs. The man went down. Dominic finished it with a strike to the temple. Meanwhile, Stella faced her 2 opponents. They were good, better than good, but she was the Wraith. She feinted left, went right, caught 1 guard's arm in a lock, used his momentum, threw him into his partner. Both stumbled. In that half second, she struck. 2 precise blows, solar plexus, throat. Both guards dropped. The room was clear, bodies everywhere, some dead, most unconscious. The crime bosses had fled, only Victor remained. He stood calmly, gun in hand, aimed at Stella and impressive, but I have bullet. You have what? Willpower? She has me, Dominic said. Stepping in front of Stella, Victor laughed. Touching, the gangster finds love, but love makes you weak. Love makes me stronger. Sirens outside, getting closer, the FBI, the police. Someone had called. Victor's escape was closing. You can shoot me, Dominic said, but she will kill you before I hit the ground. Or you can walk away, disappear, live to fight another day. Niet, Victor shook his head. I do not run. His finger tightened on the trigger. A voice from the doorway. FBI, drop the weapon. Agent Sarah Chen, the FBI agent who had been investigating Dominic, leading a tactical team, weapons drawn. Victor turned, smiled. Agent Chen, always late to party. Victor Kane, you are under arrest for murder, racketeering, terrorism. The list is long. You have no proof. Wrong. Stella stepped forward, pulled a device from her pocket. A recorder. I have everything. Every word you said tonight, every confession, every order to kill. She had been recording the entire time. Victor's face went pale. He raised his gun toward her. Chen fired. Single shot. Perfect accuracy. Victor Kane dropped, dead before he hit the marble floor. Silence. Chen looked at Dominic and Stella. You two are under arrest too. On what charges? Dominic asked. Self-defense isn't illegal, but vigilante justice is. We have evidence, Stella said, so held up the recorder. Victor confessed to killing Benjamin Hayes, to corrupting police, to terrorism. This recording proves he was the real criminal. We were defending ourselves. Chen studied them. Long moment. The DA will want this recording. You can have it, on one condition. You don't get to make conditions. The merger, Dominic said. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. I sign the papers. Sterling Security becomes legitimate, legal, clean. You get Victor's entire network. We get immunity. Chen considered her by-the-book career versus the reality that these two had just solved multiple federal cases. I will talk to the DA, no promises. She gestured. Her team lowered weapons. Get out of here, before I change my mind. The merger, Friday morning, 9 a.m. Sterling Tower, 85th floor. The boardroom was full. Lawyers, board members, press, FBI agents as witnesses. This wasn't just a business deal. It was a public declaration that Dominic Cross was done with the underworld. Dominic sat at the head of the table. Clean suit, shaved, looking like the legitimate businessman he was about to become. Stella stood by the window. Professional clothes, no longer hiding, director of security for the new Sterling Corporation. Maya sat beside her mother, wearing a dress, patent leather shoes, daddy's watch on her wrist. She was there because Dominic insisted. She's part of this family. She should see what we're building. Agent Chen stood near the door, official observer, making sure everything was legal. The contracts were 3 inches thick. Dominic signed each page. Initials, signatures, witness signatures. 30 minutes of bureaucracy, transforming blood money into clean capital. Finally, the last page. He looked up at Stella. She nodded. He signed. Dominic Cross, CEO, Sterling Security Corporation. Applause, cameras flashed. It was done. As the room cleared, Dominic found Stella on the balcony. We did it, he said. You did it. This was your dream. No, he took her hand. Benjamin's dream. He wanted me to walk out of the darkness. Took me 10 years in his death to finally listen. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Stella Hayes, you saved my life. You taught me how to be human again. You gave me a reason to become the man Benjamin believed I could be. He opened the box. Simple ring, platinum band, single diamond. Elegant, not ostentatious. Will you marry me? Stella's eyes filled with tears. Yes. Maya appeared beside them. Does this mean Mr. Cross is my daddy now? Dominic knelt. If you want me to be. She hugged him. I already drew you in my family picture at school. The wedding, 6 months later. Small chapel in Red Hook. Father Michael officiated. Maya was flower girl. Wore daddy's watch. Carried white roses. Stella wore simple white dress. No veil. Hair down. Natural beauty. Dominic wore gray suit, Sophie's watch on his wrist, Benjamin's watch in his pocket. Two ghosts bearing witness. Agent Chen attended, off duty, smiled when they exchanged vows. Tommy was there, shoulder healed, brought his fighters as security. Nobody crashes this wedding, Mrs. Chen cried through the entire ceremony. The vows were simple. I promise to protect you, Dominic said. I promise to stand beside you, Stella replied. I promise to be the father Maya deserves. I promise to be the family you lost. I promise to walk in the light. I promise to walk with you. They kissed, husband and wife. Maya cheered louder than anyone. The foundation opening. 3 months after the wedding, the James Martinez Memorial Foundation opened its doors, 3 floors, overlooking Central Park. Bright, hopeful. The dedication plaque read, "In memory of Captain Benjamin Hayes, husband, father, hero, who died protecting others. This foundation continues his mission. No military family left behind." Stella stood at the podium. Press, donors, military families. 200 people. My husband believed in service, in sacrifice, in leaving the world better than you found it. She looked at Dominic and Maya in the front row. He didn't live to see this, but I know he's watching, and I know he'd be proud. We've helped 50 families in our first month. We're just getting started. Applause. After the ceremony, Dominic found her in the office. He would be proud, Dominic said, of you, of what you built, of the mother you are. We built it, together. Together, he agreed. The James Martinez Memorial Foundation occupied 3 floors in a building overlooking Central Park. Bright, open, hopeful. The walls were covered with photos. Military families helped, children sent to college, homes rebuilt, lives changed. Maya Hayes, now 8 years old, ran through the hallway. She wore a school uniform, hair in pigtails, laughing. "Mommy, Daddy, come see." Stella emerged from an office, no longer hiding, hair pulled back. Professional clothes, director of operations. Dominic followed. Suit, tie, clean, legitimate. CEO of Sterling Security, now a Fortune 500 company. But more importantly, husband, father. They married 6 months ago. Small ceremony. Father Michael officiated. Maya was flower girl. Now they were a family. Maya dragged them to the main conference room. A presentation on the screen. She had made it herself. This is how many people we helped this year. 2,000 families, 50 kids went to college. 15 veterans got jobs. Her voice filled with pride. Dominic knelt, hugged her. You did all this? We did it, as a family. Later, after Maya went to bed in their penthouse apartment, Stella and Dominic stood on the balcony. Manhattan spread below them. Do you miss it? Stella asked. The old life, the power. I have power now, but it is power to build, not destroy. He turned to her. Do you miss being the Wraith? No, she was necessary. But I would rather be Maya's mother, your wife. I love you. I love you too. They kissed, long, deep, certain. A year ago they were strangers, now they were everything. The doorbell rang. Unusual this late. Stella tensed, old instincts. Dominic checked the security camera, relaxed. It is okay, I know them. He opened the door. Sarah Chen stood there. With her, a woman. Blonde, scarred, Eastern European features. Katya Volkov. Stella's hand moved toward a weapon she no longer carried. Easy, Chen said. She is not here to fight. Katya stepped forward, looked at Stella. Old enemies, old pain. I heard about Foundation, Katya said, her accent thick. Heard you help military families. We do. My nephew, he was soldier, killed in action. His wife and children struggle. I thought, maybe you could help. Understanding passed between them. Warriors recognizing the cost of violence, choosing to heal instead of harm. Yes, Stella said, we can help. Katya nodded, turned to leave. Katya? Stella called. The Russian turned back. Thank you for not killing us in Berlin. Katya almost smiled. Thank you for showing me there is life after war. She left. Chen lingered. The DA cleared you both. Officially. All charges dropped. You are free. Thank you. Don't thank me. You two did it yourselves, took down Victor's entire network, saved the city from a war. She paused at the door. Benjamin Hayes would be proud. When she was gone, Dominic and Stella returned to the balcony. We made it, he said, wonder in his voice. We made it. They stood together, survivors, warriors, lovers, family. The city that tried to kill them now stretched peaceful below. And in a bedroom down the hall, Maya slept peacefully, safe, loved, protected. The Wraith had walked out of darkness. Dominic Cross had walked out of hell. Together they built something better than empires. They built a home. And that was victory enough. The end.